Alright, guys, so welcome to the PF Music Podcast. This is your host, Pablo Ruiz Vargas. This is episode 139 and dealing with stress and anxiety. And make sure that you subscribe to the YouTube channel, Rumble and BitChute. If you listen to a podcast in Anchor.fm or Spotify and other good spot, other music distribution softwares and website. Hey, with a simple play, you're gonna help the podcast. With this guy, let's get into it. What we have today, dealing with stress and anxiety. We all have those moments. We all have those uh, little monkeys in the back. We understand. Now, but let's make sure that we just describe or define what is each one. So let's start with stress. So stress is the feeling of being overwhelmed or unable to cope with mental or emotional pressure. So basically, when you feel like everything just, you know, being pushed into you, where you have no emotional understanding, or worse, where you don't have mental clarity. So it's like you feel like the world is gonna collapse on you. That's basically stress, right? And now, what is anxiety, right? So anxiety is basically when you feel anxious, your body goes to a high alert, right? And looking for possible danger or activating your fight or flight responses. As a result, some common symptoms of anxiety include nervousness, relentless, or being tense, feeling or danger, panic, or dread. Okay, so anxiety, when you start panicking, uh, you know that you need to do something, but you're very scared, so you start having a lot of what we call panic attacks, right? That's with anxiety when you're something stopping you from doing something, and the closer you get to that something, your body start getting into alert, right? State. Okay, so those are mostly anxiety symptoms or a basic definition. So dealing with anxiety and stress. Okay, I'm not saying depression, I'm saying anxiety and stress. Okay, let's go first with the stress, right? Because that's the first one that I defined. So when you do martial arts, right, and when you do any fighting sports, right, you're learning some move, right? You're learning some katas, you're learning some simple blocks, punches, kick, everything very simple, right? You learn the fundamental stance, combinations. Now, in order for those combinations to be effective in a real life, there's something called pressure testing. And pressure testing is when you finally put yourself into a stressful situation, which is fighting. Okay? So now that you have the fundamentals, right? You're punching, you know how to throw your kicks, blocks, right? All those good stuff. Now we're gonna pressure testing. And now we're gonna put some stress in it. The first time they fight, it feels stressful. You don't know what to do. You try and people throw you punches. You just try to block them. However you think you're blocking it, right? And it's very stressful. You cannot react properly. Your mind goes blank. All of a sudden you go to just basically what animalistic mode. You're not thinking. Right? But what happened when you do this over and over and over and over again? All of a sudden the stress component goes down. And now all those movement, all those basic stance and everything start becoming something. Start making sense. You start seeing clearly. Now things are moving more with sense. Okay? Now the reason I say this, right, is because it's important for us. Stress is not bad. Okay, let me just say that again. Stress is not bad, right? Stress, it could be like a blade of a sword with a double blade, where if you don't know how to use that energy correctly, right, it can bite you back. But if you manage to just get that stress under control, you can see clearly. So now remember, now in the fighting stand, we're just going through the fighting pressure testing moment. Now stress is not bothering you anymore. It's still there, but it's not bothering you. Now you're blocking. Now you're punching. Now you're throwing your kicks, right? And now at least you're moving around where still stress is there, but it's not affecting you as much. Okay? It's basically learning how to embody stress, right? And just accept it as a basically reality that's part of us, right? It's important for us to just go to stress because stress is gonna what it's gonna do is gonna stretch ourselves, right? To all the things that we never thought we could just uh reach, right? Now, if you're not ready for these things, of course, stress is gonna bite you back. If you, let's say now you're going through a real situation, but you never have martial arts, or you never, have any self-development or self-defense, I might say, right? You're not ready for that stressful move. So when you start fighting in the street, right? Because you never went to those pressure testing, you're gonna just fail, and that's when stress come in and take advantage of you, and you start doing things that you never, haven't experienced, and that's when stress comes in and just fail you. Instead of just learning how to just make sure that stress was part of you, now stress took advantage of you and it fails you. Okay. Stress is not a bad thing, right? If you manage to just know how to use it, it can be very helpful. Okay. The next one is anxiety. We all suffer anxiety. I suffer anxiety myself for years, right? I used to have a lot of anxiety talking to women. Now I don't have it anymore. If it is there, it's still very minuscule. Sales. I used to have a lot of anxiety for sales, but now it's not. It's still there, but I don't have it anymore as much. All these things. Because in reality, I'm an introvert guy. I'm not an extrovert guy. Even though I look like an extrovert, I'm not an extrovert. Very introvert. I'm just an extrovert by choice. By choice means that I recognize the fact that I have an introvert personality, but I don't allow those things to determine who am I becoming. So therefore, I just want to be an extrovert to just reach other horizontal avenues. Okay. Some anxiety is just, here's how I see it. Anxiety is a feedback where it tells you places that you need to work on, basically. Pianists, right? Piano, now playing in front of people. A lot of people cannot handle it. A lot of people are great pianists and musicians, but they cannot play in front of people. They get panic attacks and stuff like that. In my case, I used to get a lot of nervous, but I just practiced a lot. And I felt miserable in front of people. But I knew by the time, right? By the time I was already in my 100 to 120 concert in my life, panic attacks were not going to be an issue. It's still going to be there, but I will manage to handle them. Another one is, right, for anxiety, if you're doing a job that is really holding you back for social interactions, I would say go for a sales job. That really is going to help you with yourself, especially with your confidence. Because what happens is we're not used to rejection. Rejection does create a barrier for greater things in life. So getting exposed to rejection more often is probably going to give you some doors, right, for you to open and just interact with new opportunities. Now, in my case of anxiety, I never noticed that I have anxiety until really until I was like 25, 26, right, and started just dealing with more interactions, and I noticed that I was failing a lot of interactions for the simple fact that I was masking myself in someone that I was not. So the more I just learned about myself, I managed to just pile through that mask, right, that was really holding me. And still up to today, I try to make sure I'm just always always acting as myself and not someone else. And my anxiety levels has to go down. So what is this mean? What does this thing mean? It means that it means that for you and for others, there's always a door to battle those two, stress and anxiety. They're one in the same coin. You can admit that they're real and just go forward, or just hide yourself for the rest of your life, right? And just be the same person for the next 20, 30, 40 years. And why do I mention that a lot? Because it's the truth, right? These are just feedback from the world to tell us that in order for us to become something that we can be, it's best for us to admit there's some problems. And there's some problems that they need to be fixed. An opportunity to grow. That's what it is. It's nothing else. Okay? Whatever other people think about it, that's their opinion. But in reality, stress and anxiety are just feedback from our body to tell us where do we need to work on. Okay? So dealing with stress and anxiety is just a great opportunity for you to understand that, hey, there might be some areas that I need to work on, and that's okay. Working out, being in acting activities or classes, music, conferences, be the leader in your classroom, be the first one. Instead of sitting in the back, sit in the front, right? Because leaders sit in the front. They're not afraid of people judging them. All those things, right? Working in very, very, very small steps can give you great result in battling the stress and anxiety. All right. Okay, guys, this was episode 139 from the PF Music Podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. You know, you can just subscribe to my YouTube channel, Rumble and BitChute. I'm gonna really appreciate it. You listen to the podcast in Anchor.fm. Just make sure you click a play. That will really help the podcast with this, guys. Dealing with stress, anxiety, episode 39. This is your host, Pablo Vargas. I'm out. Peace.